Welcome to the Treehouse Chat. My name is Kevin, and I am a business marketing major at the University of Kansas.
I'm Trenton. I study microbiology.
I'm Joseph. I'm studying philosophy and English.
I'm Connor, studying culinary arts and music production with a history in journalism.
All right, so as we all know, this is a bi-weekly... Weekly?
We shoot
for weekly,
As
but
often as we can
right.
get.
busy times.
We're
times.
students.
Yeah.
Busy times. So our weekly random word podcast, where last week's word, I believe, was guide.
Yeah. Well, 2 weeks ago at this point.
2 weeks ago, yeah. But
we had a snow day, and
Yes.
that kind of meant we were just going.
We were snowed in.
It was a Sunday.
Now we're here, and it's finals week.
It's finals week, so it's probably going to be a shorter episode today, I'd have to guess. We have a lot of studying to do. But I do want to remind all our listeners out there that we are on SoundCloud, iTunes, and YouTube, all at the Treehouse Chat. So check us out. Tell your friends, family,
Share
coworkers,
with people.
tweet it, Facebook, Instagram, MySpace,
Yeah.
Tinder, Bumbler,
Grinder.
Grindr.
No, not grinder.
Not
Grindr.
Grindr.
Hey,
Hey, you know,
wherever you want to
whatever
share
you're
it.
feeling,
However
spread
you
the
want to
word.
spread the word.
Spread the
Don't
Treehouse
tell me.
Chat word. So I guess to kick it off this week, let's hear from you, Joe. What do you
All
got
right.
for us today?
What is the word, Kevin?
Oh, yes.
Ah!
Well, our
Yeah, I was
word
gonna
this
say we
week,
haven't even said the word.
I guess, yeah, I'll go into that first. Rule is our word this week.
Rule.
R-U-L-E. Rule, Joe?
R-U-L-E, rule.
Didn't
yeah.
we make it a rule? I should have said that before I sent it off to you.
Indeed, we did, yeah.
That's all
You
right.
know,
That's
rules
all
are made
right.
to be broken.
Yeah.
Someone once told me.
Yes.
What do you got, Joe?
Well, so at first I thought, measurements, kind of like a ruler, right?
Yeah.
And there's measurements on a ruler. So I was thinking, trying to find the stories of how different measurements and names for measurements came to be. Wasn't as interesting as I thought. But it led me to ancient Mesopotamia and what's called the Code of Ur-Nammu, if I'm saying that correctly, which is the oldest written law code that we've discovered.
Older than Hammurabi?
Yes, it is. Just a little
Wait,
bit.
it's the oldest written law code?
Yeah.
So for like establishing what? Like math? Or
No, like
measurements?
laws. Like a like
Oh, okay.
legal.
The oldest code of
I
ethics.
thought we were
Yeah.
tracing back the history of measurements.
Well, that's okay. So I was doing that,
Oh.
and I just went through.
It starts in politics. It's a
It
long
led me
story.
to like just ancient measurements and what
Okay.
they did for stuff, and then somehow it brought me to here.
Okay.
But the code of ethics thing you're talking about,
Yes.
Joe.
Yeah. So anyhow, ancient Mesopotamia, written in the Sumerian language, cuneiform, I believe, or cuneiform. however you say that.
Yeah.
Don't know about that.
2100 to 2050 BC. So that's
Okay.
some old shit. Yeah, okay, so pretty much all I have for you is the 32 surviving rules. Some of them are kind of broken up, and you can't
So these
make
are like
them all
the
out.
first written rules,
Yeah.
ever laws, ever created. This is
35
what
commandments.
this is what our
Yeah, the
ancestors.
32.
The 32 commandments.
Yeah.
This is what our ancestors used to live.
Some of
by.
them are pretty hilarious because it just makes you think what kind of regular things were happening.
Yeah.
Back
And what is
then.
this? Ublat?
Ur-Nammu. The Code of Ur-Nammu,
All right.
which it was the king, I think it might have been Namu of Ur.
Okay. The Ornyamu,
Yeah.
of course.
So, before I get into that, I should tell you the currency they used, they called it shekels
Okay.
and minas. A mina is equivalent to 60 shekels. And a shekel is 0.3 ounces, so 1 mina would be 18 ounces of whatever they're made out of. I think silver.
So
Okay.
one mind is 60 shekels.
Yes.
And 60 shekels is a third bekel.
No.
No, 60 shekels is a mina.
0.3 ounces is each shekel.
Is 1 shekel.
All right. So
One
18.
shekel's 0.3 ounces.
Got it.
Yeah, and then 1
Okay.
mina is 18 ounces.
Jeez, they're just lugging that around, going shopping for the day. Just
And then even bigger than a mina, 60 minas is a talent.
Oh yeah, talent. I've heard about that.
Oh, you know, okay. All right. Well.
Rich in talents. That's where the saying comes from.
And the rich are super buff because they're just lugging around these
So many
massive-
talents. So many
massive
talents.
chunks of talents.
All right. First law, pretty straightforward. If a man commits a murder, that man must be killed.
Okay.
All right, so death penalty right away.
Eye for an eye, right there.
Where was this from again?
Well, okay, well, hold on. The
Mesopotamia.
next
Okay,
one.
that's right.
The next one.
Sounds
So,
right.
if you kill somebody, you get killed. If a man commits a robbery, he will be killed.
Okay.
So, same
It's
punishment.
a pretty strict rule on
Yeah.
robbery.
If you take someone's life or their shoes, doesn't matter.
You're
They
done.
get killed. Yeah.
Alright.
If a man commits a kidnapping, he's to be imprisoned and pay 15 shekels.
That's it?
Yeah.
Only 15 shekels for
Robbery is a death and kidnapping
Right?
is 15
You can
shekels.
steal them, but if you take their shoes,
Oh!
you're done.
People
Absolutely
didn't matter
done.
back then.
All about the
Oh, and
shekels,
also there were kind of slaves. They had slaves, but there was really just slaves and free people besides the
Royals.
yeah.
Yeah.
So they weren't terribly mean to them. You know, slaves were just they just weren't free. They had to
Yeah.
stay at a certain place, do whatever they said, but they weren't.
Okay. But they still had like a little bit of rights. They weren't
Yeah,
necessarily like
and they weren't
getting treated poorly. Okay.
killed and beaten. And
So if you steal one of the slaves, just give me 15 shekels and, and
Yeah,
nobody
probably.
cares.
If a slave marries a native, a free person, they have to hand their firstborn son over to
Wow.
that person.
To the native family? Or to
Yes.
who?
Well, to his owner. So not to the family. So if he gets married, he has to hand
The
his
slave.
child over
The
to
slave
the
gets
owner.
married to a free person. When the slave gives birth, and the slave's child goes to the slave's owner.
Yeah.
Separate.
Oh, man.
That sucks. You don't even get to keep your kid.
Yeah.
Hell no.
That's harsh.
If a slave marries a slave and that slave is set free, he does not leave the household. So even if you get married and set free, you still have to stay
Dang.
at the household.
Well, they weren't too mean to him, but they were kind of mean to him.
Yeah.
That's a pretty. I mean, what kind of life you got? You just can't leave the house.
Yeah, what about the other slave though? Could they leave the house?
As long as he's not free.
How would you beat him?
The free ones can leave, but if you're not free, you can leave. That's fine.
Yeah. That's funny. If a man violates the right of another and deflowers the virgin wife of a young man, they shall kill that male.
Okay.
Wow.
Sounds right.
I'm all for that one.
All right.
Well, that was okay.
If the wife of a man followed after another man and he slept with her, they shall slay that woman, but the male shall be set free.
Oh, she came on to me, man. All right,
Is
kill
this
her.
like wait? This is after a divorce, or
No, just anytime.
Well, no, but like
If a wife.
a wife.
Yeah.
Okay, so if she commits adultery.
Yeah.
It's her fault.
Pretty much.
It's not like if the husband is killed or they divorce.
Well, but even if he gives in and just sleeps with her.
No. I'm saying like a married couple, the husband either dies or is divorced, right? And the wife goes off.
No, like they're still married. He's
Yeah.
alive.
Still married. Okay.
Yeah.
So adultery.
Yeah,
All right, fair enough.
exactly.
Makes sense.
But
She's dying.
even if
I
the
mean, it doesn't
man,
make
like,
sense,
totally
but-
gives in and
Nobody cares.
knows about it,
yeah.
But
he's
she's
fine.
dead.
But yeah,
Make sure she
he's
does.
gonna be.
Well, you better not tell
absolutely
them.
killed. If a man proceeded by force and deflowered the virgin female slave of another man, that man must pay 5 shekels of silver.
So rape.
Yeah, but if
Rape
it's a
is 5
slave,
shekels.
Rape is
Oh,
for
of
a
a
slave, it's
slave.
5 shekels.
5 shekels. Man, they did not care to.
Did not.
Oh
No.
no.
5 shekels.
Okay, but if it's not a slave, they die.
Okay. I mean, I respect that. I think if it's a slave,
Yeah.
they should die. I mean,
So they didn't like. I guess they somehow. Like they still treated them not terribly, but politically
they
just-
didn't maybe
were
whip
totally
them and
different.
stuff, but they
Yeah.
really weren't people either. Like-
Yeah. Yeah, that's crazy. If a man divorces his first-time wife, he shall pay her 1 mina of silver.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
If it is a former widow whom he divorces, he shall pay her half a mina. So.
I've been divorced before, please. She's
Oh,
crazy.
oh, yeah.
Give her half the money.
If the man had slept with the widow without there having been any marriage contract, he doesn't have to pay any silver.
Okay.
But see, that one, when
So it's
I was
alimony.
reading that, then they wouldn't be getting a divorce.
Yeah. It's
So-
just like.
So it's like alimony payment, yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah.
If a marriage license involved, there's money involved, but we don't care.
Yeah.
There we go.
Yeah, okay, that's what it says.
Okay.
Yep. If a man is accused of sorcery, he must undergo ordeal by water, which I never did find out what that is. If he is proven innocent, his accuser must pay 3 shekels.
Wow. 3 shekels
Yeah.
for ordeal by water? What could that possibly be? Just waterboarding?
If a man is
Just a duel on the water.
If a man accused the wife of a man of adultery, and the river ordeal proved her innocent, then the man who had accused her must pay 1/3 of a mina of silver.
Okay.
Okay.
So, 10 shekels. No, 20 shekels.
20, yeah.
20 shekels.
Trial by water.
Uh,
The water is really deciding a lot of things in this,
Yeah,
in this
I know.
community.
Oh, there's something else. Okay. If a prospective son-in-law enters the house of his prospective father-in-law, but his father-in-law gives his daughter to another man,
Ooh.
the father-in-law shall return to the rejected son-in-law twofold the amount of bridal presents that he
Oh!
Wow. I was
Yeah.
following you along on that. That was kind of complicated, but...
So,
So,
like,
like,
you're
if...
trying to court a woman, right? But there's
No, yeah, like,
there's
if...
5 dudes,
And
doing
you've
it.
given her bridal
And you've
gifts
already
already.
given her
Yeah.
thousands of dollars in gifts, but she goes off to another man.
Yeah.
Her father returns $2,000.
Yep, okay.
Yeah,
Makes sense.
Sounds like a good deal.
Oh
I mean,
my
Into that.
God.
I'd just start going after all the ladies
Yeah.
all the time and treating them poorly and getting rejected.
it's like going on The Bachelor, but
so you
getting
just
like
get paid
tons
for
of
it.
money to lose.
That'd be the way to make money.
Yeah, I
Totally
would just
make
go
money
in
off
and then
that.
I'd be the most charming, sweet guy ever. Get to the final 5 and then just be like, yeah, I don't know.
Well, I think isn't
I
it
don't
like
really like
isn't
it.
it like if they've already been committed to each other and just haven't been wed?
Well, he moved into the house.
Here's what you could do: spend everything that you own on her,
Oh, double down.
and
Double
then
down.
so by the time she's gonna marry, you can say, "Oh, I'm broke," and her father's gonna be like, "Oh, hell no, you're not marrying this guy. He's
The old-
broke."
Oh.
No,
But
but isn't the law if
Then
she
he's
went
gonna
after
have
someone
to
else?
pay ya. Well, yeah,
If he promises her to someone
because
else.
he's not gonna send her with you if you're broke.
Yeah.
So he'll send her to someone else.
It's the double or
and
nothing.
then
Alright,
he'll give
okay,
you
Okay.
Dude, money
twice
makes
the
world
money
go
that you
round.
had.
Yikes.
Oh yeah, there you go. That's the way to beat it.
All right, let's get into
Anyhow.
this little Ponzi scheme.
This one is a little destroyed, and so all we know is if text destroyed, he shall weigh and deliver to him 2 shekels of silver.
He shall weigh and deliver to him
2 shekels.
2
of silver.
shekels.
If
So,
something
if-
happens,
It has to do with the slave.
A man does something to
It's
a
gotta be
slave
like-
or a man.
If a man kicks a slave in the face 5,000 times, like, we don't care. 2 shekels.
2 shekels.
Of another man's slave, because then
Yeah.
his slave
He's damaging his
Yeah,
goods.
exactly. Yep. 17, by the way, that's what we're on. If a slave escapes from the city limits and someone returns him, the owner shall pay 2 shekels to the one who returned him.
Okay, finder's fee.
If a man knocks out the eye of another man, he shall weigh out half a mina of silver.
Oh shit! Sorry, bro. I didn't mean to shoot you in the
My
eye.
bad,
there.
man.
Here's
Here's-
half a schmeckle. Go get a little. Go get a little rock. Pop it in there. Draw a little face on it. You'll be
You're good, dude, don't
fine.
worry.
Some
So
blue
if
dye.
an eye is worth
A half a mina of silver.
30 shekels, then I'm still trying to figure out what that 2 shekels would be. That's like a fingernail or something.
Yeah. Well, hold on. There is something about fingers, I believe.
Oh,
somewhere,
gosh.
or hands.
Okay.
Probably not sucking a man. You suck a slave's
Okay.
finger. You get.
This is the one that cracks me up
Way
because
delivered.
it really makes me wonder how often this happens. If a man has cut off another man's foot, he is to pay 10 shekels. Yeah, so a foot is
10
less than an
shekels?
eye.
I love how these are all like in this medieval time. This is kind of like it's just
My foot!
it's just payments and
I entire
fines.
living on this foot!
It's like payments and fines. It's not even like,
Well, then you get a wooden.
Yeah, I know.
and it's a set amount. It's not I'm gonna sue you for such and such damages. It's just No foot, 10 shekels. Next case.
10 shekels.
No eye?
Shit.
No eye. 2 shekels?
No, half a mina.
Half a mina? All right, next
I
case.
want 3 titanos. What?
What else you got, Joe?
All right. If a man in the course of a scuffle smashed the limb of another man with a club, he shall pay 1 mina of silver. Okay, so smashing their limb in a fight is worth 60 shekels.
But
if you cut off their foot for apparently any reason, it's only 10 shekels.
So if you're in a fight, why hit them with a club when you can cut their foot off, get more across,
Exactly.
and only have to pay 10 shekels?
cut the dude's
That's the way
foot
to
off,
do it.
pop his eye out, and you're only paying not even as much as
And I
paid half
guarantee
the
that guy's
price.
gonna be way more mad at you than if he got beat with a club.
Oh yeah.
Oh, yeah. If someone severed the nose of another man with a copper knife,
Okay.
Copper knife.
Silver knife's fine.
a copper knife, though, he must pay 2/3 of a mina of silver.
Okay.
Okay.
His nose?
Yeah.
Specifically? Okay.
Yeah.
Does this include jail time for like?
That's what I'm
assault
saying,
or
I don't
battery?
think
Yeah,
so.
there isn't really any jail time.
There's like death.
Why is that
or
in a jail?
fine.
You
Like-
can take away their money and they'll
Yeah.
die because they
There's
can't
only
buy
2
anything.
things that you just get killed for. Everything else, it's like, all right, just
Murder and robbery.
give us whatever you have in your pocket and go away.
Yeah. What? You had 2 shekels, make it out a lot. Whatever. 2 shekels for an eye or whatever.
Yeah, it's probably the first time it happened. Whatever they had in their pocket, they made.
What do you want to pay? How bad do you feel? That's great. New law.
If a man knocks out a tooth of another man, he shall pay 2 shekels.
Oh.
So
2
a
shekels.
tooth is worth 2
A
shekels.
tooth. So what's worth the exact same amount as a tooth? A fingernail?
It could be a fingernail.
No,
yeah.
because you
Or
only
a
get
finger.
once your tooth's gone and you're an adult.
Maybe
that's
an
gone.
ear.
But see, I'm wondering
An
if
ear.
it's
An ear's more than 2 shekels. Come on.
Yeah, but
Yeah,
you
I
can
would
hear
say
without
that.
your ear.
Well, how much was the nose? A nose.
A nose was like 2/3 of a mina.
That's 45.
I'm saying, yeah,
No, that's
in
40.
unwanted haircut. I think that's a 2 shekel fine.
Unwanted shaving.
If a man gives another man an unwanted haircut.
I declare beard rape on you, sir.
2 shekels. What, was she a slave? No. Well, 2 shekels.
All right, this one was destroyed too. So,
Oh.
blah blah blah. If he does not have a slave, he is to pay 10 shekels of silver. If he does not have silver, he is to give another thing that belongs to him.
Oh.
His daughter.
It's gotta be built for like homeless people because they're accounting for the fact they might not have money, and no
Yeah.
other rule did that.
Maybe this is something that slaves might do.
It might be for the slaves.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, why would a slave have slaves? Why would they establish that?
Why would an owner
If
have?
he does not
Why would a
have a
homeless
slave,
person
you're
have
right.
much
Well,
to give in
Maybe
general?
it's the victim that if he does not have a slave, maybe he is
if you
the
beat up a
victim.
homeless man, you have to give him a slave.
So
Well,
then
that's
you have a
fair,
homeless
that's-
man and his slave.
Beg for me, slave.
Now watch me eat
Just
the
sell
little
the slave. That'd probably be the best way to do it. Alright. If a man's slave woman, comparing herself to her mistress, speaks insolently to her, her mouth shall be scoured with 1 quart of salt.
Ugh.
Yeah.
Ew.
I wonder what that'd feel like.
That's harsh.
I feel like it would hurt pretty bad.
Just keep it
Probably
quiet.
have canker sores like a mother after.
Yeah.
If slave woman strikes someone acting with the authority of her mistress,
Uh-oh.
text destroyed.
Text destroyed.
Yeah.
Oh, man. That's a bad one. That's a 50 schmeckle.
I know. That would be a bad one. You strike the
Strike the mistress equivalent.
Oh shit. If a man appeared as a witness and was shown to be a perjurer, he must pay 15 shekels of silver.
Okay.
If a man appears as a witness but withdraws his oath, he must make payment to the extent of the value and litigation of the case.
Wow. You're withdrawing your oath? Boom, you're paying me.
Yeah.
You were not even suing me. Whatever, you're paying me now. That's a pretty harsh fine, but I like that.
That's funny. If a man stealthily... Okay, these last few are the ones that really crack me up. If a man stealthily cultivates the field of another man, and he raises a complaint, this is however to be rejected, and this man will lose his expenses. I wasn't exactly certain what to make of that.
Yeah.
But I think like,
Maybe just
If
what
you-
they mean is like reap the crops and eat.
yeah, but this is, however, to be rejected. What does that mean? What's to be rejected?
Maybe there's a specific food crop detective, and he's like, I might reject this case.
Yeah.
I'm gonna do my research on these
We'll
crops.
see. Alright. This one's funny. If a man flooded the field of another man with water, he shall measure out 3 cur of barley per iku of field.
Oh,
I'm not sure what either of those
An
what
iku.
are. But yes, a cur and an iku.
Vicar per acre. I've always heard that.
And last, if a man had let an arable field to another man for cultivation, but he did not cultivate it, turning it into a wasteland, he shall measure out 3 cur of barley per iku of field.
Per acre, yeah.
Yep.
The classic
3
thing.
per iku.
I always
Have you actually heard 3 per iku, or are you just saying
3 cur per acre.
it? Okay.
That's the
All
classic
right,
phrase. They taught that to me in elementary school.
so
A
yeah.
Mesopotamian law. You didn't take that class?
No. In middle school?
Elementary, dude. Mesopotamian laws, dude.
What?
No.
I don't know where you went to elementary school.
And then,
I don't know where you went to elementary school.
Yeah.
Trent.
so that's all the laws. And then one last thing that I thought was interesting. A unit of measurement that they have. Sexagesimal system S is what they call it.
Sexagesimal.
Oh, we're back to the
System S.
measurements.
Sexagesimal, yeah, I've seen that one.
Okay.
Gizmal, yeah.
I know a little bit about
Gizmal, that's right. And anyhow, the same thing they use to count animals and fish and wooden objects, stone objects, and containers and slaves.
Oh.
They use the same unit of measurement for all those.
Sexagisu?
Yeah, sexagisu.
Okay.
I
Wow.
thought that was interesting.
That's pretty cool. So ancient Mesopotamia.
Yeah, those are the regular happenings.
Don't kill or rob, and everything else is fine as long as you've got like a pocket full of change.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, that's good to know.
Yeah,
For when time travel becomes a thing.
someday. So, that's all I have. I guess let's hear from Kevin.
All right, well, taking it in rule, I kind of have it the same direction of laws. And I have some weird laws that are just from all around the world that I found that were just kind of strange. And the first one I came across, there's something weird with UK people, man. Salmon
With UK
holding
people?
UK people. Salmon holding, like if you suspiciously hold a salmon in the UK, you can get fined and possibly sent to jail for it.
For suspiciously holding a salmon.
For suspiciously holding a salmon or any kind of fish in a menacing way, you can get
In a menacing way.
in a menacing way, any kind of like threatening way. Just if you're holding the salmon in a weird way, you can get in trouble for it.
What
That's hilarious.
was the time sentence like?
It's like I think it was 200 euros or like 3 days in jail for it.
Oh my gosh.
So then, the next one I've kind of told you guys about it, but it's the no chewing gum in Singapore. And my brother's actually studying abroad there right now, and it's just like you can't chew gum. You can have breath mints, you can have nicotine gum, but any kind of other gum, you'll get fined for it.
Oh,
200 US dollar fine.
Who's checking it's not nicotine gum? Like
That's the thing. That's what I read on the law thing. It was like nicotine gum and like I guess certain like medicinal kind of gums are okay.
Are there gum cops that just smell your breath, and if it's not nicotine, then you're fined?
Possibly. So then another weird one is in Denmark, you can't name your baby something weird. So you have if you want to name it something other than like the 7,000 approved names, you have to get approval from the government.
That's
so you can't have any
weird.
Wests.
I don't like that.
Yeah.
I'm not sure how I feel about approved names. Some of the names
Yeah.
we're getting now are a little ridiculous, but approved names sounds a little bit too much.
I agree with that. So this next one, I think we can all remember as kids. You know, when you're biking around, you take your feet off the pedals and you put them on the on like the frame of the bike, and you pretend like you're just like coasting down. Well, in Mexico, it's called reckless biking, and your feet must remain on the pedals at all times, or else you get fined for it.
Boom.
You can like no hands, all you want, but feet have to be on the pedals.
No reckless biking.
No reckless biking. No hands is okay.
You'll
though.
endanger the children.
You'll endanger the
The
children.
niños.
This one's more towards you, Trenton, because I know you're a big. You're gonna be traveling the world one day, and if you find yourself hiking in Switzerland,
okay.
keep your clothes on. There's no naked hiking allowed in Switzerland.
Okay.
So
darn.
I'm guessing all laws happen because like there's a problem at some point. So I'm guessing Switzerland had a problem with naked hiking for a while.
These dang naked hikers.
But I remember reading when I looked at this law because I was like, what? Did this actually happen? Apparently, it really started getting pushed when some guy was just like walking around, just naked German dude just walked right past him and was like, okay, this needs to change.
We need a law for this.
We need a law for this right now. So there's a city in Ontario, Canada called Petrolia, and they decided to pass a law that limits excessive noise. So the rule states no yelling, shouting, whistling, or singing is allowed at any time.
No singing.
Where was this?
This is in Petrolia, which is a city in Ontario.
Sounds like Footloose.
It'd be a funny place to take a vacation and just start making a ruckus.
Hey! Sorry, you're arrested.
Sure.
I said one word.
The sound of
That's too
music.
loud.
Bam, slam behind bars.
What a brand new day. It just makes me want to sing. You're arrested.
Mhm. Also, if any of you find yourself in Quitman, Georgia at some point, don't let your chicken cross the road. It's illegal. Chickens are not allowed to cross the road. Quitman, Georgia.
Somebody took a joke too far in Georgia, and he made a law about
They
it.
said apparently it's more for like keeping chickens in line, but I just thought it was hilarious because like
Yeah.
why'd the
that
chicken
sounds-
cross the road?
Sounds like
Oh.
a made-up excuse.
Why?
It didn't in Georgia.
Because he's
Yeah.
fucking in jail now.
He's illegal.
I've never been to Greece, but apparently when you're seeing monuments in Greece, they restrict high heels. You can't wear high heels to monuments in Greece because they're afraid it'll damage like the architecture and like, maybe damage the old stone.
I thought it was for the short people in the back trying to see. Kevin can relate to that one.
I can relate to that one. Hey, 5'7's not too short. But another thing, in Portugal, peeing in the ocean is illegal.
Who's monitoring that?
That's the thing.
Come on.
It's a law. But from what I read, no one's ever actually been caught. But I guess if like you're just
Yes, if you
obviously
do get
peeing in the
caught.
ocean, you can get fined for it.
That's just one. That's just frowned upon. Nobody's gonna
You look
regulate
out there and
that.
you see a guy like making the relief face. He's like, "Hey,
Somebody go check if that water's warm. I want somebody out there feeling.
So this next one here, I thought it's pretty funny. But in China, from what I read, you're not allowed to reincarnate without the government's express permission.
what?
Fine.
So Buddhist monks are kind of
Okay.
fucked.
They actually made that a law.
That's what I read.
that you cannot reincarnate without our permission.
Hey, didn't we just see you dead? Yeah? Okay, well, congratulations. You're coming with us.
You were a caterpillar 3 seconds ago. You're arrested.
Now, while still staying in Asia, in India, failing to beat a drum to warn your fellow citizens about locusts result in fines or 10 days in jail.
Locust.
Alright.
Yeah, in case the locusts are coming and
You gotta
attacking.
warn a brother.
You gotta warn, brother. So back in 1910, it became a law in Oklahoma that it was illegal to call a woman a slut.
I like that.
So back then, you can end up in jail for 90 days and pay a $500 fine if you called a woman a slut.
Wow.
Nowadays, I don't know if it's still enforced, but it's still law. They didn't repeal the law, but it's just not enforced anymore.
I'm in favor of that law. Should be universal.
Universal. This next one I just thought was funny, but no throwing poo in Utah.
Good. That should be universal too. Please.
I think it's funny that Utah had to make a law that you just can't throw poo.
Well, Utah. I know a lot of weird people in Utah.
So, yeah,
The Mormons. I'm talking about the Mormons.
They're not drinking, and they figured without the alcohol they'd get bored and start throwing their poo, and they
There
had
was
to
a
act.
rebellion.
Just
and
had to quickly
Alright,
they
act
wouldn't
that.
use any weapons, so they had to resort to.
No more throwing poo, Mormons.
So this next one, kissing someone in Indiana while having a mustache is illegal. And
I don't know
this
about
is the this is the actual like quote from the law. Mustaches are illegal if the bear has a tendency to habitually kiss other humans.
Yeah, I mean, keep that thing to yourself. No, I have a mustache.
What are the measurements and guidelines on a quote unquote mustache?
So I don't have those, but what I did read is it's cool to have a beard. Just
Oh,
can't have a mustache
okay.
All right.
Wait,
if
can
you
we
want
have-
to kiss people.
Okay.
Can you have the whole a mustache with the beard?
Yeah.
I think that would
That
be
counts
okay.
as a beard.
I
They
think
just
the
don't want
beard
any-
offsets. It has to
Oh,
connect.
okay. It's the
I'm thinking it has to
solitary,
connect.
Just don't want
only
any-
the mustache.
They don't want any creepy Christopher.
It's
Just
just,
ask
yeah,
them.
right. They don't want any pedophiles. In
Yeah.
They're like, no.
Come on, weirdo.
Get rid of
I
the
like this
mustache.
look. No,
Shave it off.
shave it, weirdo.
Yeah,
You're a
but
pedophile.
that's got to be a bummer for the cops in that town.
Oh, yeah.
Can't have their mustaches.
So this next one in Russia, I'd definitely be in trouble here, but you can get fined for driving a dirty car around.
Oh, yeah, I'd be
In
in trouble for
Russia?
that
In
one.
Russia, I don't know the
Oh.
specific guidelines on set like dirty level, but apparently if your car's too dirty in Russia, you can get fined for it.
Yikes.
Start a car wash in Russia. There you go. You got the law on your side.
So this next one, I just was like, wow. If you get caught masturbating in Indonesia, you go to prison for 32 months.
Wow.
So yeah, keep
Wow.
Willie in
And
the
check.
Remind me not to go to Indonesia ever.
pants.
Yeah, don't ever take
That's what
John
I'm
to
saying.
daycare.
Climbing a tree in Oshawa, Ontario, is illegal.
No way.
Yeah, and what I read, apparently, I don't know the exact number of trees, but apparently this town in Ontario has so many trees, like just a ridiculous amount of trees, and you're not allowed to climb any of them.
Come on.
Are they good climbing trees?
I would assume that
They're
they're good
probably
climbing
premium
trees.
They're
climbing
probably
trees.
perfect. They're probably
I was
like
saying,
the best
Canada, you've
climbing
got
trees in the
Outstanding
world.
trees.
Just right
Okay,
there in Canada.
so-
Just right there for the climbing.
I've got 4 more here. The next one is making a nuclear explosion in Germany is illegal.
Good.
So, why would you have to make that a law?
Yeah, I know.
Well,
And what are you
Is
gonna
someone
do?
just like
What are you
dicking
gonna
around
do
with
if somebody
nukes?
does
At the
light a
same
nuke? Yeah,
so
they're-
a lot of these seem like we're kind of approaching them from a citizen's perspective. That probably is in place for the government as well. Like, no making nuclear bombs, you German government.
Oh, I believe that the German government.
I mean, if somebody's launching nukes, how much are laws really going to come into play anymore?
True.
Sheesh.
Paying with too much coinage in Canada is illegal. So if you want to be mean to your waiter and just give him full nickels,
He'll arrest you.
he'll arrest you.
Wow.
So this I thought was hilarious. So I'm gonna read you. I'm gonna tell you kind of like what the law is, and then I'm gonna give you the actual what it is in the thing. So the law is being an annoying jackhole in the Philippines is illegal.
An annoying jackhole.
And in paragraph 2 of Article 287 of the Revised Penal Code, any unjust vexation is punishable by arrest and a fine up to 200 pesos. So I thought, like, what exactly is unjust vexation? And during a 2009 Philippines court case, it was described as any behavior or language that could unjustifiably annoy or vex an innocent person.
Wow.
So if you're just an annoying dickhead, you can
Jackhole.
go to jail.
Specifically a jackhole.
A jackhole.
I kind of like that rule just
Yeah.
because, you know, whenever that happens to you, how awesome would it be if that guy that was just pissing you off real bad just got thrown in jail for that reason?
Hey, this guy's super annoying. Book him.
That'd be great. That'd be satisfying, but that'd get too out of control. You just throw anybody in jail
Yeah.
all the time.
And then the last one here, it was so outlandish I had to make it the cap of the list. Cursing while being naked and releasing balloons in a public park in Toronto is illegal.
Cursing while being naked and Wait, so are you releasing the balloons while you're cursing naked?
Yep.
Okay.
Don't get caught.
Well, yeah, I'm gonna support that one too, honestly.
What? Why that had
Again.
to become a law?
Because someone did it.
Yeah. Come on, man. Will you stop yelling?
We're gonna have to make a law about you now.
We're running out of helium, man. You've been at this for days.
So that kind of taps off my list of crazy, weird laws that just made me laugh.
Alright.
So that's how I took rule, and I'm curious. I know Connor's kind of brought up the end of these last few episodes. So let's mix it up a bit. And Trenton, you what do you got for us today?
Yeah, that was
Clown.
All right. Well, sorry about that, Connor.
I don't care. You're good.
Don't mind if I take this.
Wait, hold on. No, I meant Connor.
Oh, dude, I don't care.
No.
The ruling has been made.
Oh my gosh, I can't believe I messed that
The
up.
ruling has been made.
Ruling's been made.
Wow.
It's on to Trenton.
I'm already 10 layers deep.
Tshrades.
All
Lay it
right.
on us.
I really meant to do that the other way around. All right, well, happy accidents, I guess. That's what my mom told me.
They rule.
So I was going off a different interpretation of ruler, another obvious one. I wasn't gonna take it so obvious, and then I was just like, I've wanted to do this guy for a while, and he really fits in with the words. So I went with Vlad the Third.
Vlad, I feel like I remember hearing about him.
This is
history.
the infamous
Impaler.
This is the Impaler.
Oh, Vladdy.
One of the cruelest rulers ever, pretty much.
Just throughout history of everything.
Oh yeah, I'm gonna give you quite a few examples of this dude's cruelty.
Oh, I'm excited to hear.
So there's a lot to say about this guy, but for brevity's sake and just because it's finals week, I'll give you a quick rundown. So he was the Prince of Wallachia, whatever.
Yeah.
Part of modern day Romania. So what is now where Romania is. So he was actually prince 3 separate times, starting when he was 20 and then between his death. So one time he was kind of exiled and another time he was imprisoned, and I'll talk to you about this. So he would kind of just come back and be prince for a while and then just kind of leave for a while.
Nice.
So he was the second son of Vlad Dracul. And Vlad the Impaler was often named Dracula as a nickname.
Oh wow! Is that
Yeah.
where we get the name?
Yeah. So
I was gonna say Vlad the Impaler is known as Dracula.
yeah. So
I hate
it's
this
not
guy.
necessarily confirmed that he was the inspiration for Dracula, but there was a lot of myths surrounding that, and he got a lot of there's like a lot of similarities.
Yeah.
So Dracula or Dracul means like son of dragon or something, because his dad was in like the dragon clan or something. So that's the origination of Dracula as we know it. So when he was a kid, him and his younger brothers were held hostage for a long period of time in order to ensure subservience by his nation. So, normal childhood. And when he was 19, his father and oldest brother were murdered.
Damn.
Jeez.
Okay. So shit. Was he and his father?
And so this is while he was like away while still being like you said, kind of exiled, or
He didn't get
Okay,
exiled
yeah.
until later. He's just chilling at home. He's 19. He had been held as a hostage, and he's like, I'm growing up. But wait,
Gotcha.
my oldest brother and dad just murdered.
Was his dad the ruler at the time?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm. So, Vlad's second cousin was appointed as new ruler. And Vlad was not happy about that. Not happy.
Yeah, man.
So, Vlad's second cousin, and his like military officer launch a huge campaign against the Ottomans and like the Ottoman Empire,
Mm-hmm.
So at the same time, Vlad is super pissed that he didn't get appointed leader, so he teams up with the Ottomans and overthrows his cousin to kill him.
That's a lot of jealous family rage right there.
Yeah. So he's rolling in. Already a pretty cool guy. So he's the ruler now. And to strengthen his position, he began like a systematic massacre of all of the Wallachian nobility. So all like the noble figures he was killing and replacing them with lower ranked men who were more supportive of him.
yeah. Oh.
So classic move. US knows a lot about that.
I didn't want to say, but I was gonna say.
Yeah, so he did that, and he also went on a crazy pillaging massacre of the Saxon villages. And he would often take victims back to Wallachia and impale them in the public areas.
Yeah.
And this was the dawning of his impaling.
Okay.
And he must have just loved it.
Yeah, and you might be getting into this, so forgive me if you are, but I've heard this is all I know about him before this, is that he would like just sit in a field or a courtyard of heads impaled on sticks and eat his dinner. Like that's just where he'd go have his dinner.
I would believe it. And whole bodies.
Yeah, just
I read that he loved to organize them. He would put them up in sort of like these artistic circles based on their class rank before he killed them, and he was into it, man. This guy loved impaling. I mean, he got the nickname. He's the Impaler. So he established his rule strongly by knocking out the nobility and then just pillaging tons of villages. So he puts up these impaled bodies to basically strike fear and ward against invasion, and it totally worked.
Well, yeah. What would you do if you saw a bunch of people impaled on sticks? I'd run away.
Yeah, I would run away.
and the amount that he probably had.
Yeah,
Like,
I didn't see
Jesus.
anything. I don't even know what you're talking about, actually. So now that he's the ruler, the Ottoman Sultan, the guys he teamed up with, wanted Vlad to come and pay homage to him. Homage. No homage. And Vlad, of course, denied. He responded by having the Sultan's envoys captured and impaled, as he was tend to do.
This guy sounds like Attila the Hun.
Yeah.
Anytime people try to talk to him and
Impale.
cooperate with him, just
What did he say? Nah, impale
rape
him.
and pillage.
They want you to impale him. Too long.
Honey, dinner time. Someone impale her.
Is somebody impaling her already, please?
Please.
Oh wait, that'll be me tonight.
Someone impale the guy that's supposed to be impaling him.
Oh,
Get that guy
Vlad.
Tired
impaled.
of this shit.
Alright.
So then he attacked the Ottomans.
Of course.
Because
Did he-
he's like, no, I'm not paying homage. I'm going to impale your dudes and attack you.
So,
So-
did he impale everyone that he attacked?
I'm sure not everybody. I mean, he's got to win the battles first, and then once the battles are thoroughly won, then he impales the survivors. So he battled against the Ottomans for quite a while, and then eventually he kind of ran down and weakened. So he went to Hungary to request assistance, and they said, no, and imprisoned him for 12 years. So
But
Holy
wasn't he
shit.
just the leader of this whole big empire? And
yeah,
Just gets imprisoned?
yeah.
So, like, did he go visit him? And while he was there, they were just like, grab him.
Yeah.
So,
He
like,
was
what happened?
Hey, Hungarian leaders, can I have your help? And they just sort of like looked at each other and they were just like, get him. Get him
Like,
quick.
I know about this guy.
12 years dungeon.
Don't trust him.
12 years. So they got him for 12 years. So that's like I'm saying, like he was kind of prince and then he was not and then he was prince again and then not.
Was he in there for the full 12 years?
Yeah.
Damn.
Think he was impaling dudes in there?
Probably on whatever the hell he could find.
No, I will tell
Oh, wait, are you making a joke?
It's a double take.
you. Was he dropping soap?
Was he purposefully making people drop their soap and
Oh,
just
yeah.
bam?
Impale him that way.
Come with Vlad.
Maybe our podcast is on Grindr. But anyway, so he wasn't necessarily impaling people in prison, but there were lots of rumors that while he was in prison, he would take the rats that he would find and cut up their bodies into really tiny pieces and then shove them in just small pieces of wood around the prison.
Yikes.
That's so strange.
And so
What
then
is
the
wrong with this guy?
so then the whole
This
place
is
would
like
just smell like rotting flesh.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know.
And there'd be
He was like-
diseases in the air and shit.
What do you
Oh.
think this dude's parents were like when he was a kid and just killing rats? And
Daddy
they're like,
Dracula?
"Good job, kid. I bet you're gonna be a great hunter." And he's just like, "I love killing
Yeah.
people."
I'm sure a member of the Dragon Clan wasn't the best dad.
Yeah.
So that's what he was doing in prison. So while he was also in prison, a lot of rumors and stories of his cruelty started to circulate everywhere. And they kind of got exaggerated and out of hand. But that only kind of worked for him in the better. Because the more people feared him, then fear is all he needed to rule. So he was finally released at the request of Moldavia, which is a nation, or just like a place of rulers and stuff. I don't know. They were in a war, and they wanted to fight the Ottomans. So they brought him out to fight the Ottomans, like he was doing to begin with. So basically, he entered a war. 12 years later, he's finishing it. but he actually was killed in battle when he was about
yeah.
50 in about 1477.
When did he get out of jail?
I don't know. He was killed in battle, so it probably would have been like 63 or 64
Wait, this guy's
Did
like
he
a.
get out?
that he got out. Yeah.
Okay.
Or no, when he went in.
60,
Yeah, when he got out of jail, it was probably like 75. He wasn't in. I think he battled for a
he's
little
probably
bit,
just too rusty,
but- Yeah.
thinking, "Oh, I got this."
Yeah, I mean, what? He was cutting up rats and shoving them in walls for 12 years.
Dude, the guy's ego.
Yeah.
He's got an ego.
He's not going to be the
He's
world's
Vlad
best
the
fighter.
Impaler.
And his body location is still unknown. They never found it.
Wow.
So that was a summary of the life and times of Vlad III. But now I want to go specifically into a lot of the cruelty rumors that have been built up.
Wait,
So-
so just for Vlad III, how big of a ruler actually was he at one point?
He had a pretty good. I mean,
Like, did he have
he
a
was a
city
prince.
and a castle? And a...
It was a town, yeah. I'm not sure if it was a castle, but to give you the scope, they think that he personally was responsible for like 100,000 deaths. So, like, while he was ruler, he was in enough war for like 100,000 casualties. So it was pretty. I mean,
Shit.
these are pretty big death tolls.
And that was
so,
before he was in prison? Once he got
No,
to prison,
total
he just
lifetime. and that's like highest estimates too. So, like, they're not just messing around. It's not like a tiny little tribe, you know. They're not fighting, like, border wars. Like, these are large, like, the Ottoman Empire. They were fighting
Massive.
the Ottoman Empire.
Yeah.
So, that had to be pretty big.
I don't know why he would go to battle, though. He's Vlad the Impaler. He just needs all his little soldiers to go,
He just wants to impale.
man.
So, a lot of these stories of his, like I said, a lot of them kind of got exaggerated, and we're not sure. They have different degrees of truth. And I kind of will, I'll kind of give you the background and so you can decide for yourself how true you want to think of them. But there was one lengthy poem that was found describing his deeds, and it was titled The Story of a Bloodthirsty Madman called Dracula of Wallachia. So, in the poem it said that Vlad had 2 monks impaled to assist them to go to heaven. So,
hey boy, I got you. I'm just gonna impale you and you can
Good
go
guy.
see Jesus.
good guy.
Ooh.
He's helping them out. And then he also ordered the impalement of their donkey because it began braying after its master died. So,
Like, someone impale that thing.
yeah, shut that thing up. Impale it. Just impale it
Jeez.
already. And then another recording by Bishop Rangoni. I like that. Stated that while he was in prison, oh yeah, that's how we know about the rats thing. So
This is
that
from
was
Bishop.
yeah, that was a reporting from a bishop. So I tend to believe that one.
Okay.
But he could be exaggerating to, you know, victimize him, make him look like the enemy, you know, propaganda and all that. So who knows?
I mean, he is an awful.
Yeah, he's an awful guy. So people, I guess, would try to make him look like a weirdo.
Yeah.
So another story says, this is also by the bishop, Turkish messengers once came to Vlad to pay their respects, but they refused to take off their turbans because it was according to their ancient custom, and so he nailed their turbans to their heads with 3 spikes.
Did that kill them?
God damn.
Didn't say, but I'm gonna go ahead and say yes.
Eventually.
That killed him.
Damn.
I had to take a good guess. And he said it will strengthen their custom.
Oh my god.
So again, a
This
good
dude's
guy.
ironic. I like
A
him.
good guy.
Rolling him back in like this time.
He's helping people achieve their religious
God,
goals.
wow.
A good guy. So during the plundering raids, oh yeah, so also he did a lot of plundering in Transylvania.
Yes.
So another
That's right.
Dracula-like thing. So a lot of his life and times kind of spurned different aspects of Dracula. But I think Bram Stoker, who originally wrote it, didn't ever like confirm that he got the name or a lot based off him. But I mean, like, come on, wooden stakes.
Wooden stakes and a vampire who
Yeah.
impales
Oh, and listen,
people.
I got something else. So
Transylvania.
another thing is, it's been said he dipped his bread in buckets of blood, and then ate it. So while he's not drinking blood, still, he's
the liquid.
ingesting.
It's the liquid that he's taking with bread.
So I mean, come on, you're not saying you're drawing inspiration from this guy, Brahm.
Brahm, get on out of here.
Get real, Brahm. So he's helping people achieve their religion, and so he does a lot of plundering in Transylvania, and eyewitnesses described him as a demented psychopath, a sadist, a gruesome murderer, and a masochist, worse than Caligula and Nero. Which, those guys were pretty goddamn fucked up. Like, that's a whole nother thing, but those guys are fucked up on another level. I brought this up on another one before, but I know none of you guys watch Game of Thrones, but Joffrey is this really crazy character, and they based him off Nero. So this guy is Nero level, like, that's gotta be bad.
Insane.
Do you know if he would impale people? Because I heard someone would do this, might have been him. But they would just, like, sit them on the spear.
Oh, and like
just
gravity do the work?
let it slowly go
That
up
would
their butt
suck.
and impale them that way.
Oh, no.
I think that is an impalement method. This guy, he didn't like invent it, you know. It's just a method.
Yeah.
So I think that's just a method, like, he might have
He
used
probably
it.
did that at some
But
point.
yeah.
Just
I
thinking
know.
of impalement, man.
That's a
That
harsh
is
one. That's a harsh one.
Oh,
yeah.
gosh.
I just think even into that time with impalement and like fighting and sword fighting and how that's how war was done then. Can you imagine just like running at a guy
Shit.
with a sword and within 3 seconds you just you're just dead?
Yeah,
because
no, you
Yeah.
get caught in a net and then you're slowly sinking onto an impaling spike. Then 4 seconds later.
Oh.
That's a harsh
All right,
reality.
all right. Move on.
Okay. So, he was known to have a big copper cauldron, and he would put people's heads in the cauldron and fasten like a wooden lid on the top, and then he would fill it with water and set a fire underneath it.
Oh.
And quote, he would let the people cry until their eyes were boiled to death.
Wait, hold on, they'd still be alive?
Yeah, they would be
Okay.
alive.
They
He would let the people cry their eyes out until they were boiled to death. So he would boil their head, and their eyes would goo out.
Gee.
Yeah, that's a harsh one.
Oh my god.
That's a real harsh one. And it was said he often invented frightening, terrible, and unheard of torture methods.
Oh, God.
This one's particularly gruesome. He ordered once that a woman be impaled together with her suckling babies on the same stake.
dang.
And then close your eyes, or close up those ear holes
Oh,
if you have a
God
light
damn it.
stomach. Because after this, he cuts the woman's chest off and inserts the baby's head first into her chest cavity.
This guy's psychotic to another
Oh,
degree.
gosh.
Yeah, this guy was psychotic. So, was it exaggerated? Maybe.
Maybe
but-
she had it coming, you know? You never know.
Wow.
Oh, jeez.
That's definitely gruesome.
Joe and I are losing our freaking minds over here.
It's just...
So, impalement would proceed either vertically or horizontally, but always through the core of the body. And sometimes thousands of prisoners would be impaled at one time. Many victims lived on for several days.
How do they just get like 1,000 people to pick up 1,000 other people?
Yeah, I mean, like I said, he's got quite a large army. He's just like, I'm gonna go pillage that village. Yeah, have fun, take everything, take the people, impale them, of course, and wrap it up by noon. That's just a day in the work for Vlad.
Vlad the Impaler.
Dude.
Man, this is so
That's
messed
crazy.
up.
Yeah.
You mind getting invaded by this guy?
Oh gosh, I'd be so scared. If I learned that Vlad was rolling into town and I was just like a lonely farmer with a
I'd be
pitchfork,
out.
I'd just be like, honey, take the kids
Peace.
to the attic and we're gonna do a thing and it's not gonna result in living. So the last things was known to just commonly burn all the sick and poor alive. Solve those
What about if
issues.
you're just like a healthy male? You think he'd keep him?
Yeah, you're fighting. Healthy males are fighting, women are having children, sick and poor are burned. Elderly pretty much don't exist because they're dying by that time. I'm guessing. That's my best guess on how this society went. And he was known to often poison his own wells just to spite people that would invade him. So, like, unsuccessful invasion, that well is still poisoned. Like, that's his own town. They're just like, well, we fought off the invasion, but Vlad poisoned our well.
What the?
So damn it.
So damn it.
Just to spite him. Just like, fuck you.
They didn't actually get in. I'm gonna poison it anyway. No, like we fought them off. Nah, fuck them though. I'm poisoning it. But yeah, so basically that's what I got on good old Vlad.
Vladimir.
Vlad and his
Wow.
Dracula sparking history.
That is nutty.
All right, Connor, it's finally your time to bring us home again after Kevin so
Is this
rudely.
4 times in a row? Or
This might be
3?
the. I know it's at least 3 that
Yeah.
comes
It's alright. It's okay. I
We
just,
gotta save the best for last. This
well,
time
I appreciate it. I just try to bring more thoughts and, little nuggets to keep thinking on.
Nuggets.
Little spices.
Yeah, at the end. So I
Spicy
open up for
nuggets.
discussion, and then listeners can go into the week with just some thoughts and open-ended comments, My take on rule was the word. These are some famous court rulings in
okay.
American history.
I like that.
And so it is going to be kind of a list, but at the same time, I just want to hear what you guys think, if it was, how significant it is in the American history, if it affects you at all, stuff like that. So starting off, 1857 was Dred Scott versus Sanford, and that was the denial of citizenship to African American slaves.
That was the ruling.
That was,
I
the
remember
Dred
that.
Scott ruling. So that was where it was decided that if you were an African American slave, you were property. You weren't a human.
Okay.
Yeah.
Dred Scott.
Dred Scott ruling.
That's a dreadful ruling.
'Twas. 1896 was Plessy versus Ferguson, and that was where the separate but equal segregation laws were established.
Yeah.
A lot of the same kind of racial.
So almost 50 years later?
Yeah, about
50?
40 years or so.
1892?
1896.
Okay.
Yeah, and so that was where a lot of the racial stuff really started to take stage, I guess. 1954 was Brown versus the Board of Education, where separating black and white students in schools was ruled unconstitutional.
Wow, another 50 years.
Yeah. So it is kind of interesting to look at this through a timeline
Wow.
in American history. And that was 1954. So at that point, then students could go together.
And then
to
I
school.
remember the Little Rock 7, right?
Mhm.
Wasn't
That's
that
exactly
it?
right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we had to read a couple of those, like, I think a couple of them kept diaries, and we read some in school.
Yeah.
That's just so sad.
So that was then. And then getting more into legal stuff, there was Gideon versus Wainwright, and that was in 1963, where they just established that defendants have the right to an attorney, even if they can't afford one.
Okay, good.
It's one of the Miranda rights, which I'll get onto.
A quick and speedy trial.
Right. So the one with the attorney is, I guess at that stage there were a lot of people who were being imprisoned, detained, and
they didn't have lawyers.
they didn't
So
have a lawyer, and
criminal
so they were
lawyers.
just being cracked down on, and nothing could really be done about it.
Okay.
So they established that law, and that was 63, where then in 1966 the Miranda versus Arizona court ruling came, where prisoners were informed of their rights before any questioning by
Okay.
law enforcement.
So for a little bit of time, they didn't even know they would get a lawyer right away.
Yeah, exactly.
They didn't even were told.
Yep.
Okay.
They were just kind of left assuming.
I'm sure it was a pleasant surprise. They're like, "Oh, I get a lawyer now for free." Like,
Yeah.
okay.
1973, a big one that that I heard about going to a Catholic school growing up was Roe versus Wade in 1973, and that's where women are allowed to have an abortion in the first 2 trimesters of their pregnancy. So a lot of this was 1973.
73, and that's a hot one still.
Yeah, and exactly.
Wow.
So they still debate that here 45 years later.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We have people often come to our campus and protest or just have signs and big displays.
Big
on
pro-life movements.
Big
Yeah.
pro-life and big discuss with us. What do you think? Why do you disagree?
I always put my headphones in, look straight down, and walk right by.
Yeah, I would.
I don't want to get sucked in.
But that's interesting. 70s.
Yeah.
Established in
73.
70s.
Next big one that I thought was kind of interesting was in 2000, the Al Gore versus George Bush campaign for presidency.
Yeah.
It came to a 5-4 decision ruling in favor of a no recount for the election. The ruling was no recount in the 2000 presidential election was feasible in a reasonable time period. So, Al Gore,
Should have won, right? Or
I believe, yeah.
won it technically according to some.
And they wanted a
definitions.
recount, but they couldn't get it in a time-efficient manner.
Wow.
And so they just ruled,
It's called inside
case closed,
job.
it's over.
It's called government
Inside
gets what
job.
government
Yeah,
wants.
sorry, homie, no time.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
they
think
just said he
Al
ran out
Gore
of time.
had more votes than Bush did.
Yeah.
More,
Popular vote, but
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
He had the
yeah,
popular
the
vote.
electoral system is so
Messy.
whack.
There's people still mad about that.
Yeah.
It's so whack.
Oh, yeah.
It's so funny.
Yeah.
Um,
Sorry, buddy.
Yeah.
Sorry, man. Get over it.
I won. Oh, I don't.
Move on.
No.
But I want nope. Move on.
2008, the District of Columbia versus Heller decided in another 5-4 decision, so another really close split thing, that citizens have a right to possess firearms at home for self-defense. And that was in 2008 that was decided.
A 5-4 decision.
Yeah, so it was still another really hotly
Hot.
contested
Was
one.
this nationwide?
Yes, I believe so. Or it was the District of Columbia on one side. So I apologize. I don't have the detail on that. I would assume
okay.
it's.
I would assume so.
I would assume it's a federal thing.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
It was 2008.
Mhm.
I know.
I
feel
thought
like
I
that's-
remember. I mean, we were 10. My cousin has guns. I thought I remember seeing that. Maybe he was up to some.
Well, no. You could have hunting licenses, and I think you could have a shed or
but
a
as of
safe
now,
or something. Yeah, but I think this. I don't know the exact technicalities on it, but it says they have the right to possess firearms at home for self-defense. So I think they can just have their gun on them when they're chilling on the
sitting
couch.
on their workbench.
Oh yeah, they can just be out instead of having to be stored and locked.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So-
this dude had hella gun saves.
The 2012 decision, I've just got a couple more. Another kind of interesting, not as big as other rulings, but the National Federation of Independent Business versus Kathleen Sebelius, another 5-4 decision.
Kathleen.
Yeah, from Kansas.
Oh.
And it was upheld that the mandate it upheld the mandate that most Americans have health insurance.
Good.
So,
What? So was Kathleen against that?
I believe so.
Kathleen.
Oh, Kathleen.
That's a harsh call.
Yes.
But I'm glad that passed. That was such a close decision as well.
Mhm.
It's crazy to think that stuff like that is as close as can I have a gun sitting out on my counter or at home?
It's barely more than 50. It's barely more than a coin flip.
Yeah, we're gonna say yes, but it was a really close call.
Yeah.
Can we provide basic health care for people? Oh, another
Same
close call
We're
there.
gonna have to check.
That's on the same level as a gun on the counter.
Two more big ones that kind of work hand in hand. The first one is the United States versus Windsor in 2013. The last two are also going to be these 5-4 splits, and that's why they're such.
Okay.
That's why I found these so
So this is the
interesting.
history of close calls.
Yeah, exactly. A lot of tight decision making in the rulings and in the legal system. So, United States versus Windsor in 2013. federal government must provide benefits to legally married same-sex couples.
Okay, wow. I'm surprised.
And that was 2013.
Yeah.
Like,
when was
I feel like I remember.
was that? Wait, when did same-sex marriage get legalized in the first place? I remember that. It was a huge thing. It wasn't during Obama's presidency?
So that was 2013, where they have to provide benefits to these legally married same-sex couples
Yeah.
in states where it was legal.
Oh.
Yes.
But it didn't become nationwide
Until
legal.
2015,
Wow.
Obergefell versus Hodges, a 5-4 split. That was obviously one of the
Jeez.
biggest decisions in
Yeah, that was
American history, I
huge.
guess. And same-sex marriage is legalized across all 50 states.
Wow. I cannot believe
3 years ago.
the law to give them benefits came first.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, but again, they were
Before
kind
it
of
was
opening it
even
up. It's kind of
nationally
like
accepted.
They were probably still trying to leave it up to the states.
I
at
feel
that
like
point,
it's
yeah.
kind of like legalized marijuana, where they were kind of going by state and
Yeah.
letting them decide if they wanted to legalize it. Up until 15, it became nationwide.
Yeah.
And so in 13, they decided where it is legalized, those states then must provide the benefits.
Okay.
Yeah. So those were, I guess, some of the biggest rulings that I thought in American history, some that kind of shaped where we are today, influenced a lot of stuff in our history, and kind of molded us into the nation we are.
Yeah, what was that one you said in 2008? Was that about the guns in homes?
The 2008 ruling, yeah, that was
Yeah, I was just trying to think. I don't remember any of those in my
that,
memory besides the 2015.
yeah, and that would have been the first year of President Obama's run. I guess.
That's
Term.
funny because I remember.
It says
I remember
2008.
that
It might
first
be like
election.
right before or after he took office.
Yeah, I remember that first election, but I don't remember that going down.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember
that's
the
interesting.
Selection, but not that.
So close rulings.
Mm-hmm.
That was a good
Lots of
one.
close ruling. Yeah, and that's the thing too. Is a lot of stuff is pretty close. A lot. The nation doesn't see eye to eye on most major issues.
Yeah, lots of direct interpretations of the word. I like that.
Yeah.
No long stretches. Last time linking an alcohol fire to guide was a hot one, but but yeah, I like those. I learned some interesting rules, common day and Mesopotamian.
Yeah.
Some interesting rulings and some interesting rulers.
Yeah.
evil rulers.
Yeah, John, that one kind of just shook us to the core here.
Yeah, goddamn.
Yeah.
Besides that, I would
But
say
hey,
the
it's informative.
podcast this evening.
It's fun. It's a
ruled.
chat.
Yeah, I'm sorry, man. I had to show the true core
All
of his ruling
aspects.
nature, and he was a cruel
Cruel.
man.
Cruel bastard.
All right, well, we're gonna end the show out. We'll generate the next word for next week, and keep in mind we are all up on SoundCloud, iTunes, and YouTube. So
Spread the word. Spread the Treehouse chat.
Yeah.
Friends, family, Facebook, Instagram, everything, Snapchat.
keep an eye out, and we
Pretty
will
cool.
be moving forward into the holiday season. Not sure what we're gonna be posting like, but we're gonna try and keep it weekly.
Do our best.
All
I'll be out of
right.
the country and
Time for the random
Okay.
word. Can I get a drum roll? Envelope.
Envelope.
There you go.
I'm gonna
Alright.
envelope this topic and mail it off
Okay.
to my brain.
Yes. We will envelop this topic with much discussion in a week.
Envelope.
Alright, well, thank you for listening.